Alright, so this is the video for the critical paths homework that you need to find the critical path, and to find the critical path you need to find your minimum project time, which starts from left, goes to right, and above each letter or below I'm going to write the amount of time it takes to finish that task, right? So, or not, yeah, to get started with that task, I should say. So, 0, like to get A started, it takes no time whatsoever. Let's just say these are days, so no days. It's going to take 3 days to finish, so I can start task B after 3 days. And I can start task C after 3 days, or have somebody else doing it, right? So D, if B start after 3 days, took 7, then after 10 days I can start task D. Well, also C could start after 3, took 6 days, so D could start after 9 days. But it has to have both of them, so you always have to go with the higher one. Sure, C will be done after 9 days, but they're still going to have to wait till the 10th day to get to B. So they can start after 10 days on that task. E only has their one prerequisite, so 3 plus 6 can start after 9 days. And then F has 2 prerequisites. Well, it will get the part D after 11, but it won't get part D till 12 days, so it can't start until day 12. 9 plus 3, 12. And then it'll take it 3 days to finish, so the minimum project time is 15 days. Now the critical path is, where does this 15, who has to be always on time, or this is going to be late? And it's just tracing the 15 back. If 15 came from F plus the 12 plus 3, the 12 came from 9 plus 3, the 9 came from the 6, the 3 and the 6, and the 3 came from the start A. So your critical path is A, C, E, F for this one. So in other words, A has to start at the very beginning and only take 3 days, so that C can start, only take 6 days. If anybody starts too slow or takes too long, it'll mess up the project time. So that's it. So with 2 tasks with no prerequisite, you can start them both with 0. C has 1 prerequisite, takes 6 days to finish A, so C can start after day 6. D has 1 prerequisite, it can start after day 5. E has 2, so it's either 16, 6 plus 10, or 5 and 8 is 13, so E would have to wait for 16 days before it can start. F has the same 2 prerequisites, 16 or 13, so F also has to wait till after 16 days to start. G has 2 prerequisites, 16 and 9 is 25, or 16 and 6 is 22, so 25 days before you can start G. And H only has the 1, 16 and 6 is 22. And then finally, the finish, 25 and 7 is 32, and 22 and 10 is also 32. So either way, since it's a tie, it's going to take 32. But when you look at the critical path, they both have to start on the day that they get the project and only take the amount of time they're given. So he has to start after 25 days and only take 7 days. And H has to start 22 and only take 10, or this is going to be late. So our minimum project time comes from both of them. So there are cases where you might have 2 critical paths. Well, the 25 came from the 9. That 16 came from the 6 plus 10, and the 6 came from A. The 22 came from the 16 and 6. The 16 came from the 10 and then back to A. So your critical paths are A, C, E, G for the top one, and A, C, F, H for this bottom one. So this actually has two critical paths. All those people on the critical path have to start when they can. So then not only you need to be able to draw the task and find the critical path, also minimum project time, critical path, and the latest start time, so we'll talk about that. So I'm going to do the alright, so for this one, you have two. They're not on the critical path, so A and B can start with 0 amount of time. C requires A and B, so you have to do A and you have to do B before you can start C. A took 2, B took 4. D takes A and B, so, and again that's 2 and 4. And then you can do E, as long as C and D are done, you can do E from C and D. And you can do F, as long as from C and D. C took 3, and D takes 1. And then G requires E and F. E took 5, F took 6, G takes 7 to finish. Alright, so now for your minimum project time, again, it's just add the numbers and taking the higher, so you can start A and B at 0. C is either a 2 or a 4, so C is a 4. D is either 2 or 4, so D is 4. E is either 4 plus 3, 7, or 4 plus 1, 5, so it'd be 7. F, same thing, it's either 5 or 7, so it's a 7. G is either the 12 or the 13, so G is 13, the 7 and the 6, and then 7 more would be 20 for your minimum project time. Your critical path, the 20 came from the 7. The 13, right, to get back to 13, the 13 came from the 7 and the 6. The 7 came from the 4 plus 3, and the 4 came from the B. So your critical path is B, C, F, G. Now, that latest start time is the idea that if you're not on the critical path, like E is not on the critical path, D is not, and A are not, then you can start later than required and still get the project done on time. If that were not true, you are part of the critical path. So what that's saying is he's going to get it after 7 days. He's got 5 days to finish it, and it has to be done by day 13. Well, 13 minus 5 is actually 8. So he could actually start it on day 8. Like I was saying in the class, if you are hiring people to do these jobs, then you could say, hey, guy that is going to do task E, I need you to come out here on day 8 of the project. I don't need you on day 7, because then you can just take 6 days doing your part. So, and be careful, like D, he doesn't need to get it to E actually until, and do your latest start time backwards, because D would look at 8 and say, oh, I don't have to have it to him until day 8. But he does have to have it to F, who's on the critical path, by day 7. And that's the more important one. So 7 minus 1, he could actually start on day 6 and be fine. A, same thing. A looks here and says, I don't have to have it to you until day 6, but I have to have it to C, who's on the critical path, by day 4. And that's the important one. So if it takes me 2 days, my latest start is 2. So all these green are the latest start time for those tasks. All right. So number 4, again, you need to draw out the graph. You have 3 A, B, and C without prerequisites. So A, B, C. All can start at 0. D requires just A. And do D, and A takes 4. E requires B and C. B took 5, C takes 3. So once E is done, F, G, H all just require D. So F, G, H are all waiting for D to get done. And again, D takes 2. I is just waiting for E to get done. So once E, which takes 1, you do I. F and G are J. F and G are required for J to start. F took 3. G is 2. H and I is required for K to start. So H and I for K to start. H is 3. I is 2. Then L is waiting for J and K. J is 4. K is 6. And then L can finish the project with a 5. All right, so 0, 0, 0 for the earliest start time for these. D can start at 4, 0 and 4. E either 5 or 3, so E has to wait for 5. F, 4 and 2 is 6. G is 6. H is 6. I is 6, 5 and 1. And then J is either 6 plus 3 or 6 plus 2, so 6 plus 3 is 9. K is either 6 and 3 or 6 and 2, so 6 and 3 is 9. L is either 9 and 4, 13, or 9 and 6, 15. 5 more days to finish, or hours. So this can be done in 20 hours. And that's your minimum project time. Your critical path, the 20 came from, of course, 15 plus 5. The 15 came from 9 plus 6. The 9 came from the 3 plus 6. The 6 came from the 2 and the 4. And then the 4 came from A, which is start. So your critical path, A, D, H, A, D, H, K, L. So as far as latest start time, again, start at the end. So the first one, the earliest J can start is after day 9, or hour 9. The latest, since it takes him 4, and he has to have it here by 15, 15 minus 4 is 11. So he could wait for the 11th hour to start. then get his job done, and it doesn't hold up the project. So F only has to worry about J, so F is like, hey, he doesn't really have to start till 11, so 11 minus 3, I can wait for hour 8 to start. And F, which is in the same thing, says it's only going to take me 2 hours, so 11 minus 2 is, I can actually wait till the 9th hour to start. I is not on the critical path. Takes him 2, has to be done by 9. 9 minus 2, he could wait for the 7th hour. E says, oh, he doesn't need it till 7 hours. Only takes me 1. 7 minus 1 is, I could actually start at the 6th. And then B, who only goes to E, has to have it to him by 6. So 6 minus 5 is 1. His latest start time would be after 1 hour. And C could actually 6 minus 3. He could wait till after 3 hours before he even starts. So all the green are the latest start times. And remember, it's only for tasks that are not on the critical path have a latest start time. All right, so number 5. Again, look for all your prerequisites. Only A and B. A and B can start at 0. C is required. Needs B to be finished. B took 5. A and B, D needs A and B to be done, so D needs both of those to be done. A took 3, B took 5. E needs D to be done. D took 4. F needs C and E to be done. So F needs E to be done and C to be done. E took 3. C took 6. And then G and H can be done once F is done. G and H can get started once F is done. And F took 7. And once G and H are done, you can do I and J. So H for both of them. G for both of them. G took 3. H took 4. And then I and J are not the prerequisite for anything. So make sure they both are needed for the finish to be complete. I is 7. J is 5. Alright. Once you have your task all mapped out, you can do your earliest start times, 0 for the ones that don't have a prerequisite. It's either 3 or 5 for D, so it'd be 5. And for C, there's only one prerequisite, so it's also 5. E, one prerequisite, 5 and 4, so after 9 days you can start E. F is either waiting 11 or 12. So F has to wait till after 12 days to start. So then 19 and 19, 12 and 7. So G and H can start after 19 days. 19 and 3 or 19 and 4 would be the higher one. So after 23 days, you can start I and J. And then I takes 7, so that's going to be longer. So 30 days to finish this task. Where did that 30 come from? What's our critical path? Well, the 23 and 7. The 23 came from the 19 plus 4. The 19 came from the 12 and 7. The 12 came from the 9 and 3. 9 came from 4 plus 5, and 5 came from B. So your critical path for this one, B, D, E, F, H, I. Right, and then finally your latest start times, which are only for those that aren't on the critical path. So J has to have it done by 30, takes him 5, so he can actually start after 25 days, subtract. G is not on the critical path, but he is going to I, which is on the critical path, so 23 minus 3, he could wait till after 20 days to start. And then C is not on the critical path, has to have it to F by 12. 12 minus 6 is 6, he could wait till day 6. And then A is not on the critical path, has to have it to D by 5, takes him 3, so he could start after 2 days. Alright, so one more drawing. This one, A, C, E, all can start with 0 amount of time. B requires A. A took 10. D needs A and C. A took 10 and C took 7. F requires E only. And E took 6. And then once you have B, D, F done, you can do G. B has to be done. D, F, B took 4. D is 6. F is 8. Then you can finish the project. And G took 6. Alright, so zeros for our starts. B is going to have to wait till after 10 hours. D is either 10 or 17, so he's got to wait, or 7, 10 hours. F can start after 6 hours. And then G has to wait for 3 of them to be done, either 14, 16, or 14. So 16 is the greatest. And then after 6 hours, he'll be done. So it's going to take 22 hours to finish. The critical path, the 22 came from 16 and 6. The 16 came from 10 plus 6. The 10 came from A. So the critical path is A, D, G. So B has the latest start time. If it takes him 4, has to have it here by 16. He can start after 12 hours. Same thing, has to have it here by 16. Takes him 8, so he can start after 8 hours. 8, 9, 16. E is feeding into F, so he doesn't have to have it till F till 8, so E is a 8 minus 6, 2. C gives it to D, has to be done by 10, minus 7, so he could do 3. And A is part of the critical path. So there's your latest start times. Oh, we had one more to draw. That's not the same as the big... No. Same amount of letters. Is that the same? No. Okay. So it looks like I have 3. So I'm in here. Sorry, had to tilt it for easier writing. I can start with A and D and F with no time whatsoever. Like I was saying, if you're hiring people, you could hire these three right at the beginning. They don't have to wait for anything to get started. So task B can't start till A is done. So once A is done, B can start. Once B is done, C can start. Once D is done, E can start. Once E and F are done, G can start. G, E, and F. I'll go back and put in all the times. Once C and G are done, H can start. C and G are done. Once G is done, I can start. Once H is done, J can start. Once H and I are done, K can start. And once I is done, L can start. And once J and K are done, M can begin. Once K and L are done, N. And then both of those have to be done to finish. Alright, then going back, A takes 3, D takes 1 day, F takes 5 days, E takes 5 days, B takes 4 days, C takes 4 days, G takes 3 days, H takes 2, I takes 5, J takes 6, K is 3, L takes 1, M is 2, N is 6. Alright, so, see all that? Of course, these are zeros to begin with. You can start B after 3 days. You can start E after 1 day. You can start G after 1 and 5, so 6 days. C you can start 3 and 4 is 7. H is either 11 or 9, so 11 days. I can start after 9 days. 11 plus 2 is 13 for J. 11 plus 2 is 13, or 9 and 5 is 14, so it'll be 14 for K. 9 and 5 is 14 for M. 13 and 6, or 14 and 3, so 17 or 19, so M can start after 19 days. N is either 17 or 15, so N can start after 17. And 21 or 23, so you'll be finished in 23 days. At the end of 23 days. Because 17 and 6, so the 23 came from 17 and 6. The 17 came from 14 plus 3. The 14 came from 9 and 5. The 9 came from 6 plus 3. The 6 came from 5 plus 1. And the 1 came from D. So your critical path, D, E, G, I, K, N. And then all of the rest are not on the critical path, so they will have a latest start time. Go from the back. Like the 19 has to be done by 23, takes him 2 days. 23 minus 2. He could start after 21 days. 13, J doesn't have to have it done until 21 days. 21 minus 6 is 15, so he can start after 15 days. K is on the critical path. Let's circle these so we we know none of those have a different later start time. L does. L only takes 1, has to be done by 17, so they can start 16. H does. Now, H here doesn't have to be done until 15, but 14. So you don't have to look at the 13 for this one, look at the 15. But for K, it'd be the 14. So 14 minus 2 is 12. C takes them 4, so 12 minus 4 is 8. B, 8 minus 4 is 4. And A, 4 minus 3 is 1. And then the only other one, the F, takes 5 days, has to be done by 6, so F could start after 1 day. Alright. Then the last one on the page, already drawn out for you, you're just finding all that stuff, so we'll start with the times or zeros. D is either 10 or 5, so 10. E is 5. G is either 28 or 11 or 9, so 28. And F is 28. And finish is either 30 or 36. It'd be 36. Because 28 and 8, 36, so F was on the critical path. 28 came from the 18, so D is there. The 10 came from the A, so your critical path is A, D, F. CP for critical path. And now, if it has to be done by 36 and it only takes him 2 days, he could actually wait till 34. E only goes to G, so 34 minus 6 is, he could wait for 28. 34 minus 9, he could wait for 25. And then B has to be done by 10. Can't do the 28 or make the D late. 10 minus 5 is 5. So, that's it for that homework assignment.